There was a previous episode. I always, every start off of these episodes just starts with, anyways.
Uh,
There's a previous episode of the Comicsgate documentary we recorded recently that will probably go up after this episode. We recorded a few days ago. But there was a mention of the Kickstarter for Jawbreakers by Richard C. Meyer. It's several versions of Jawbreakers because there's the newer Kickstarters, but there was mention, I think, from Jim Tuner of the original Jawbreakers from 2015. Apparently had a Indiegogo or a Kickstarter. It had some kind of crowdfunding campaign for it. And I was like, you know what? I don't remember this. All I remember was the actual comic. It was the one that Richard drew himself. And I thought it was very strange how basically you can't even find that. Because when I just Google or in any way search for, Richard C. Meyer Jawbreakers or Jawbreakers comic crowdfunding campaign, all that comes up is the new ones, of course, because they're more successful. So if he did a crowdfunding campaign for the original one from 2015 that he released in 2017, basically gave out for free and asked people to roast it because nobody wanted to read it. It wasn't good. It sucked. And the
like
thing is,
everything else he does.
yeah, the thing is, I don't know if he even got funding for the original campaign. He may have made the goal like $500 and not met it. I don't know. I'd love to know. I'd love to see the link, but thing is that it's really hard to find now because I don't think it's under his original. It's not. It wasn't on Indiegogo. I don't think. For all I know, Indiegogo didn't even exist in 2015. I think it did, but most likely the Kickstarter was and still is the biggest crowdfunding site on the internet. Like it can lose 20% of its funding. Like Comicsgate was like, yeah, Kickstarter, it went down by 20%. And it's like, that's so many millions of dollars though. That's even that 20% is probably still more than Indiegogo ever gets. So,
Just the amount that it lost is more than Indiegogo gets. Forget about the fact that what it still has left.
yeah, and it also kind of explains why Indiegogo has multiple times turned a blind eye to people violating its terms of service if they make enough money under their platform. So Indiegogo is, kind of it verifies, improves, and details the corruption of Indiegogo and how the corruption of Comicsgate is allowed to go past.
In particular, the fact that Comicsgate was just straight up ripping off their own customers.
Yeah, just stealing from their own customers. And in fact, that brings us to something today because I searched out of curiosity and I didn't really dig that deep because I don't. I usually don't. I just I'm like, not my business. But just out of curiosity, I was like, can I even find that old crowdfunding campaign for the, from 2015 for Jawbreakers? And I did a search, and I didn't search that long, and I just found his newer stuff, including Jawbreakers Grand Bazaar, which is supposed to be his last, or the more recent Jawbreakers comic, because the second one supposedly has all of them dying, and then this new one is a prequel, and it's like, it's about how here it says the origin the origin of the team on and under the battlefields of Afghanistan, and takes place like 2005 during the Afghanistan war. And it's like, is that really what we want to hear about Afghanistan? Is like superheroes, like dumb superhero shit? It's like fucking fighting Israel's wars or some shit like that, or fighting the war for oil or the war for poppy fields or the war against terror or the war against the subjugation of innocent civilians in the country or in the Middle East or whatever you see any of the Middle East war as. Do you really want to see it as a stupid escapist fantasy, grim, gritty It's like it's realistic, but then
Well,
there's
don't
just
forget
just
also
this ridiculous superpower bullshit.
Rob Liefeld. Don't
Yeah, and
forget
then
about Rob
with some
Liefeld.
Rob Liefeld influences. Anyways, so it got $213,000 from 4,000 backers. And that's so far. The thing is, while its campaign ran, here what the real number essentially during its campaign, what they do in Comicsgate is they turn their crowdfunding campaign into in demand, which means that you essentially keep your campaign open to keep selling more copies, that kind of thing. So what the book actually got originally was $162,000 by 3,200 backers, which is kind of weird because it's only about 1,000 less backers, but it's another like $70,000, almost $100,000, and that seems to clearly be from selling more expensive product. It's like $25 for the book. It's in fact here it says select a perk, the top one, $25 for the book and pinup. That here's the
Oh
thing,
shit.
is that
25 $25. That's how much you usually charge for 180 pages or
yeah,
more.
this is not 180 pages,
Oh
and
no.
on top of that, just as a one of my favorite comparisons, of course, that we keep bringing up, it's almost painful how much we name drop Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini, but their Common America books are $10 for about 60 pages, and it's like that is I think it's sometimes more than 60 pages, of course, but it's like that makes a lot more sense. It's a better value. $10 for a book is
Way
hard to
better
say
book,
no
way
to.
better story, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, $25, you're essentially not selling a book, you're selling a false promise. You're selling people hope. You're selling people copium eventually, essentially. Um, So I looked at it and I noticed something that I hadn't been paying attention to, and that is that this comic, the campaign ended June 1st, 2020, and it's still not out. Their
Wait,
backers
June, the
do not have
campaign
it,
ended June 1st.
and the honeymoon clearly with Richard C. Myers over. Not just because this comic is late, but that's also part of it. What happened is this comic's late. The Expendables comic that ran a campaign about the same time is equally as late. They're both about half a year late now, with so far no sign of it coming out. In fact, Richard seems to be giving people excuses, and that's what we're going to be going through is all the comments that basically tell the story. But on top of that, it's a very strange situation, very strange, very unusual, weirdo behavior, you could say, that this movement that's supposed to be, Richard himself, but also the movement of Comicsgate that you practically have to put a gun to his head to make him admit that he is on the same side as or supports. But even if he wasn't part of Comicsgate, he claims to be all about customer support and respecting the customer. But as we'll see, he just straight up lies to his customers several times. And we're going to go through the evidence of that here.
He definitely does not respect his customers. Holy shit.
Yeah, so basically, as I scrolled through these, I noticed I had to read them in sort of reverse order, so the most recent comments show up first. So for Grand Bazaar, which of course has very pretty art, but the thing is that I've never been impressed by good art. It has to have a good story. It has to have even remotely good writing, and Richard C. Meyer is one of the worst writers. Objectively, not my opinion. Richard C. Meyer is one of the worst writers in comics in the entire medium, according to everyone with taste or everyone with real experience in writing. People who suck dick and cuck out to movements and to false ideologies, they'll tell you that Richard C. Meyer's a great writer, but they don't have any real beliefs. And we've actually proven that, again, it's not our opinion. That's just
I
something
mean,
that's
by
been
all means, again,
objectively observable.
you people, if you don't believe that, go ahead, read his book.
Yeah, by all means, fund his book, back his comics, buy his comics, spend $25 for his books, read his comics and enjoy them. I don't care. The thing is that his comics
Well,
still
I
aren't
know you
good.
won't enjoy them. There
Yeah.
is no enjoying them.
Yeah,
You'd be fooling
there is a
yourself.
psychological element of people convincing themselves that they enjoy something that they actually don't like and don't care about,
I mean,
and
we've
it's
seen
part
that a
of the
lot.
sort of the sunk cost fallacy, and sort of again the whole copium huffing copious amounts of copium situation where people just cannot accept psychologically that they've spent all this time and energy backing something that ultimately is dog shit. So they have to convince themselves it's actually good. And we've never had that problem. We're basically immune to bias and to other things like nostalgia and that kind of thing. So we've never had any situation where we had to defend somebody who was on our side or whatever that's supposed to mean. It doesn't mean anything to us.
We've never had to betray our principles.
Yeah, exactly. We've been 100% morally consistent, whereas Comicsgate has been 0% morally consistent and betrayed every principle it's ever claimed to hold, down to the every single last person. But anyways, getting into the comment, just jump right into the fucking comments because there's a million points. We could stay here for hours and hours making a million points. But getting into the comments, the top one, and I'm not going to read off the names. They're showing on the screen. I would prefer to hide the names, but they're all public. They're just on his Indiegogo, on his campaign. So I'm just reading the comments. I won't read off. Some of them are by the same people multiple times, and I won't point that out. I'll just read the comments. The top one, though, from it says 5 hours ago, but I took these screen caps
I
not
wonder if you could
yesterday, but it
actually
was like
go.
early morning.
Maybe you could go and
I can
find
go.
out if there's any new ones.
Yeah, I could, but here's the thing. I'm just going to go off the screen caps. If anyone themselves wants to look this up and read this for themselves and to read the comments, by all means. And if anyone does know where the original crowdfunding campaign for the original 2015 Jawbreakers is, if it even exists, I never confirmed it. I don't know. I don't know if that was just something that was because it gets very messy telling apart all the different. It's like, oh, there's a campaign for Jawbreakers, then there was another campaign again for Jawbreakers, and then that took off. It's just like I have no idea if the original Jawbreakers, where its campaign was, what site, how much money it made, if it got its funding goal, if the funding goal was the minimum goal, if the funding goal was something higher than the minimum goal and it didn't meet it, or if it did meet it, I don't know. But anyways, okay. So the comments, just the most recent one from when I took these screen caps says, "Writing this off as a loss and a learning experience, never backing you again."
Wow.
One of the other points I wanted to point out is that this is, I think, I personally, in my opinion, I think this is pretty clearly not just because his comics are late. What really happened was a couple months ago, after his comics had already been late for like maybe a few months. They were apparently supposed to come out in October of 2020, and
Well, I
then I
mean, they
think it
should have
was
come out the same month that the campaign finished. Because why is he fucking taking money to pay an artist when he should already have that
yeah,
money?
and he's already been gloating about how he's making money and we're buying houses with their comics. But what happened was he backed off of that lawsuit. I think that was November or December, pretty much the end of 2020. He walked away and canceled the lawsuit against Mark Wade. And when that happened, the honeymoon with Richard C. Meyer, diversity in comics, was over. And people were like, well, he's a complete cuck now, people. And the thing is that that's always been true because it had been true before he quit the lawsuit because he had been suing Mark Wade and still telling his customers to buy Mark Wade's comics. And the people in Comicsgate are so dishonest that they claimed that was an example of Richard having so much integrity that he can admit when Mark Wade's comics were good, but Mark Wade's comics suck. They're not good. They're
First
overrated.
off,
Even his good comics like Kingdom Come are very, very cheesy, soap opera, melodramatic
they're
bullshit.
not worth your money.
Yeah, they're not. It wasn't good. I pirated it, and it still wasn't worth my money. Um, but that's supposed to, like, Kingdom Come was supposed to be Mark Waid's best comic, and oh, it's from the '90s, and it has this, Alex Toth art or whatever. I forgot the artist name, but he's the guy who does like paintings for comics, and he's good at that. But I don't like that realistic style where everything looks like real people. It just looks kind of ugly. In fact, I'll say the art for this here, Jawbreakers, I think this is technically Jawbreakers 3. The art for this looks better for the style. It's just that the real problem with the Jawbreakers art is that the characters are very generic looking. There's an incredibly stale, bland design. There just a lot of guys wearing tack vests and
The design for the characters themselves are just it's indistinguishable from everything else.
yeah, if it wasn't for like one guy wears a mask, one guy wears sunglasses and is black or something like that, you wouldn't be able to tell any of them apart. The thing is, none of them have any personality. They have completely interchangeable personalities. But all of that is getting aside from the point. But I think the fact that Richard canceled the lawsuit against Mark Waid, for some reason, a lot of people took that as the last straw, and they were done with Richard. The thing is that a lot of those people had backed this comic and the Expendables comic, which there's a lot of weird backstory with the Expendables comic we can't even get into because I don't know anything about. But there seems to be an implication that Sylvester Stallone not only has no involvement with the comic, but barely signed off on approving the existence of the comic. And it's, I don't know. Again, there's a
It
lot of
wouldn't
weird
surprise
implications
me.
about it.
It wouldn't surprise me, but at the same time, like this seems like a huge legal issue.
Well, we won't be getting into any of that though.
Somebody else could.
Yeah, but well, I don't think that's even relevant though, because there may not be a legal issue. I'm sure if they did an Expendables comic, if they didn't have the rights, they would have been sued or something by now. So I'm sure they have the rights. The thing is that the comic's late, and I'm sure Sylvester Stallone doesn't exactly
No, this would
approve
be
of
beneath
that.
him. This would probably be beneath his attention.
Yeah, that's the thing
Otherwise,
is that he basically what they do with comic spin-offs is the owner of the property, whoever it is, a company or Sylvester Stallone, somebody says, "Hey, can we get the rights to do a comic book version?" And they go, "Yeah, okay." And that's it. That's 100% of Sylvester Stallone's involvement with a comic book is I'll get a piece of it, I'll get a piece of the money, and that's it. I'll get my share of the royalties. You guys just do whatever the fuck you want. So they did a comic where the Expendables go to hell, which is one of the dumbest ideas ever, of course, because it takes like a realistic, like sort of military action flick movie franchise and then immediately throws it into like fantasy, metaphysical, fantastical
horse shit.
it's
It
just
shows
a
they didn't
different
have an
genre
idea.
entirely. It really doesn't make any sense, but that is pretty typical for Richard and Comicsgate, where he just completely misses the mark and misses the point of even his own stories, but especially other people's. Like, let's not forget Richard C. Meyer is the guy who watched The Founder and took away from that comics should be more like McDonald's, when the point of the movie was about how McDonald's took somebody else's idea and basically turned it into a generic commodity that could be mass produced across the entire planet and essentially
It was a
bury
way to
the
make money.
original creators.
It was a way to make money and nothing else.
Yeah,
They took a legitimately unique product and they fucking dumbed it down so that they can make the most money. So it really shows what their priorities are
but
as
also
comic.
Richard missed the point that that's already what Marvel and DC had done, is that they had taken comic books and made it for the lowest common denominator to make the most money. The thing is that a shitty burger is something that will still feed you. A shitty comic book will give you nothing. Even a good comic book technically will only give you entertainment. It will not fill your stomach. And So every time these Comicsgate morons would try to compare comic books to food, it wouldn't land except for people who don't think. People who are incapable of processing cognitive thought. People who just listen and believe, they'll jump on board. But people who think for themselves are like, that doesn't make any sense. That's stupid. And they're immediately out. So, anyways, yeah, the top, I just thought it was funny, the top comment. It was so recent, it didn't have any thumbs up or down, but we'll be seeing some thumbs ups and downs on some of these other comments that are still recent, technically. Technically, all of these are recent. But the next comment, which means the next most recent, is from a guy, a few hours earlier, who also left this comment on the Expendables book, Indiegogo campaign, which actually has even more comments. The thing is that a lot of those comments until a few months ago are very butt-kissing and completely supportive. And again, it's not until Richard backed off of the lawsuit of Mark Waid did these comments suddenly get sour and change. Like, these people probably would have never had a problem with the books being late for months and months, because they make excuses to themselves. In fact, you can still... I took some screen caps of some comments that are like, the book's late, but I'm really hyped. So it goes to show people will delude themselves into thinking that it's perfectly fine for a book to be late when there's no excuse for any of these books
they
to
never
ever be late.
Explain either why are they looking forward to this book.
Because again,
it's like, man, I really want to support you. Why?
Yeah, that's the thing. They're just looking to support the idea, the movement. Nothing about the actual books. Nothing that they can point to and say, this character is really interesting. This thing that this character did in the previous book was so good, I want to see more of it. Nobody says that. They just say, oh, the movement, the comic go. We want good comic. We want customer support. Our ship is the Mondor.
One of them even specifically says that they're fucking... What was it? That they're looking for the fucking move, or to own the libs. They literally say the word "own the libs."
Hashtag own the libs. The thing is,
hashtag own the libs, even though it's a fucking comment section for fucking Indiegogo or Kickstarter or whatever.
But anyways, more proof though that there's no reason for this comic to be late is Tim and Mark have been doing these comics. They released comics last year and now, and their comics aren't late at all. In fact, the latest their comics got was, I think, a couple of weeks, which still isn't actually late. There was just a slight delay because I think there was a printing error, and they pointed out, oh, there was a printing error, so there would be like a week delay. The thing is, this is months and months, and we're going to see some very weird excuses of Richard admitting he didn't even send the book to the printers and for some reason didn't want to. We'll get into that either in future parts of this or just way down the line, because there's always plenty of context. It's important to add as much context as possible. Anyway, so yeah, the next comment here, and again, I'm going just off the stuff on the screen. A guy says, a call to backers, please contact Zach. First of all, his name's not Zach. So if you're going to contact Zach, you're contacting the wrong person.
You'll end up contacting nobody.
Yeah, it's really kind of stupid that they still keep calling him ya boy Zach when that's not his name. And in a way, that name is a cope for someone who just wishes it was still the 90s because that's when his life peaked. Which is sad because you'd think his life would be peaked right now, but if you actually add up the money, if you know exactly where the money's going, you can't say he made $200,000. No, he didn't actually. You're not factoring printing, and you're not factoring in the shipping. You're not factoring in the cost of the art for all of the aspects. Then you're not factoring in the merchandise. You take all of that away, he's really not making. He's not making like not minimum. He's basically not going beyond middle class. He's making an average amount of money, if even that, which, to be honest, you probably have to take like 80% off of every final backing amount in order to get the real number that someone like Richard or whoever can actually keep in pocket. Usually, though, in Comicsgate, they just pocket all the money and they spend a lot of it before they get to the printing or the fulfillment. So that's why so many comics are either late or fucking get canceled because the money's just spent. They're like, oh, I got this money. I'm going to keep making more, though, because this money will surely go up. When, these people are in comics and they don't know the issue 2 rule, which, again, is an old thing, and we've gone over that many times in previous videos. And it ended up being proven true. In fact, this amount is being less than his other previous comics is the issue 2 rule in effect, even when it's not issue 2 anymore. Anyways, so this guy says, a call to all backers, please contact Zack and or Indiegogo. Indiegogo also will not do anything, by the way, which we've gone over, again, in other previous videos, but also we've just gone over it in this, where they've clearly settled on Indiegogo because there was sort of an under-the-table deal with Indiegogo and Comicsgate to look the other way when people in Comicsgate violate Indiegogo's rules.
Primarily because the pay pigs are paying out the ass.
Yeah, they're paying enough money, and some of them, of course, are there's like millionaires that Ethan Van Sciver personally knows and can call in favors to artificially inflate and like goose the numbers on these campaigns. And one of those guys in particular got doxxed and sort of found out. Some people looked into the paper trail and just seen how he's been giving thousands and thousands of dollars to various Comicsgate campaigns in exchange, essentially, for nothing. But also, people did a little digging and saw that Dynamite Comics was doing the same thing, where they were donating to campaigns in exchange for nothing. They weren't even buying the comics. They were just donating to campaigns to sort of inflate the total. It was very suspicious, and nobody in Comicsgate looked into it because they didn't want to. Comicsgate innately wants to bury their heads in the sand. It does not want to know the truth. It does not want to know what's actually going on. Anyway, so... But yeah, the one thing about Indiegogo looking the other way, there's a bunch of other examples of corruption in Comicsgate that can be reported and had been reported to Indiegogo in the past, that could get campaigns shut down, and they didn't. Like, there is a rule against using your campaign to attack other creators who, especially if they have campaigns on Indiegogo, and the Cash Grab by Cecil had that backup story directly attacking Doug, basically for no reason, for a reason that they manufactured a lie. Essentially, they ran a slander campaign against Doug TenNapel, and their comic was part of it to like fund this comic and show how much you hate Doug TenNapel for betraying Caesar, for essentially betraying the cult. And Comicsgate is slavish to listen and believe methodology. So
don't ever be told that.
But Indiegogo looked the other way when it happened. Anyways, so this guy says, please contact Zack and or Indiegogo to demand a new ship date commitment on these 2 completed campaigns, Jawbreakers, Grand Bazaar, and the Expendables Go to Hell. Both have an original ship date of October 2020 and are now 6 months late with no shipping date. But there's,
I also have to bring up. I mean, the campaigns were done in June of 2020.
Yeah, the Jawbreakers campaign here, it ended on June 1st, 2020, which means the beginning of June, not the end of June.
That's like fucking 4-5 months.
Yeah, that's easily 4 months
and finishing a comic,
4
which
months
shows that they had
October.
no intention of making the comic until they got the money.
Yeah, which the thing is, the weird thing is that the campaign, I skimmed the campaign and it did say, like 30, at least 30 of the pages are done and more on the way. So they were implying that a bunch of the comic had already been finished. So
well, then that's just laziness.
Yeah, I don't think it's laziness on the artist's part. Again, there's a lot of very weird, suspicious goings on with this campaign in this comic and with Richard. And
They do tend
more
to
than
fuck
we're
that
even
up
aware of.
hard.
We can't even speculate on all of it. But from what I've heard from people who still subscribe to his channel, is that he's been spiraling pretty weirdly lately over the past year. That he's like staggering around malls and getting pestered by security or something, or he got kicked out of a mall. There's a lot of stuff I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But there's
Yeah, because we don't follow. There's so many lol cowrie, so many droplets of unmilked lol cow milk
Yeah, just
that are.
exploding out. And the thing is that I unsubscribed from his channel in 2019 when it was obvious that he wasn't putting his money where his mouth is. He had already shown he had betrayed the principles he claimed to uphold. So I
When
was
it
like,
was
okay, then I'm
clear
done
he
with
was
him.
harming the entire industry, most
Yeah.
especially new independent
I mean, you
creators.
look at this comic, you look at a comic like Jawbreakers, and it's lowering the bar. It's making the average for comics, sort of the gene pool of comics, is just being pissed in further and further by comics like Jawbreakers and pretty much anything else by Comicsgate that's incredibly low quality, low IQ, and
Low.
low effort in a lot of other cases. Even for some of other, even for the on the art scale, which is usually the only good part of any of these comics, is that the art at least is decent or passable or something. But even the art's starting to really suck. Not in this example, but I'm still not really that impressed though, because again, having easy art, you can find a lot of really good artists these days. Anyways, this guy mentions both have an original ship date of October 2020 and are 6 months late with no shipping date, but there is time in the day to do daily videos. This is really funny because he basically calls out Richard for being a YouTube whore, for just being a faggoty YouTuber, just your average, YouTube shill, just trying to get your super chat, your super berries and monetization. Anyways, this guy says there's time in the day to do daily videos and to launch new campaigns without fulfilling these two completed campaigns. Is it too much to ask for an updated ship date after 6 months of silence? And and it goes on like it looks like it was the same guy then left another comment saying, it's telling you have two funded campaigns, Jawbreakers and Expendables, with an original ship date of October 2020 that are almost now 6 months late. Ignored repeated requests from backers for a new ship date, but have the time to do daily videos and launch two net new campaign. I don't even know, net new, whatever. But he did do a couple other comic campaigns. And here's the thing is that when you're a comic writer, basically you can launch a campaign and all you need is the funding for the art. And then I guess I really don't understand this business model of you have to print it and ship it physically, because you're essentially adding 90%
You are
onto the
wasting.
cost.
Yeah, you're wasting your customers' money.
Yeah, and it's their money to waste. So if Comicsgate wants to waste its money with like 90% overhead, that's fine. But it's like if you just kept
It's a
10%,
terrible
used it for
business
the
model.
use it, yeah,
Terrible.
it's a terrible business model in the modern era. Um, and for comics that aren't even shipping to actual stores, they're just going directly to the customers, which that works, I guess. But the thing is that you're not really increasing your profile. You're essentially self plateauing in that sense. But if you just all you need is 10% of that money you spend per book, and you could make the book and just have it exist. And the thing is that
Yeah,
that's the
printing
difference.
it
It's all about a
physically,
feeling. It's
especially as
essentially
an
all about
independent
placating people's
creator,
emotions.
should be a motherfucking optional. It should be a bonus after the fact. That's something you add after you're done with everything else. It's not the first thing you come up with.
In fact,
Unless
that's what
you don't
people
care
used to
about
do.
story.
It's very interesting. It's what people used to do like 10 years ago with crowdfunding campaigns for comics, was essentially people would make web comics and the comic would exist. And then, and like as a vanity project, they would make a print edition of the comic. Like Dresden Kodak, Order the Stick. I think a bunch of Dave Willis's weird fucking comics too, of course. But
That
I
was
think
because people were already
Penny Arcade did a
reading and
couple very
enjoying
bizarre fucking
the
campaigns.
comic online.
But yeah, those comics were available to read. It was just like a sort of vanity decoration thing, almost like, oh, we're doing a coffee table book of Penny Arcade or whatever. They took hundreds of thousands of dollars for a Penny Arcade crowdfunding campaign that was to do all this extra shit that they ultimately just didn't even do. They were going to turn their site into like a games news website that would be like a sort of a fucking almost a social media hub or something. And again, none of that fucking came out. It wasn't important. It didn't matter. But they got to pocket that money. And all of this happened years before, like easily a decade before Comicsgate, or around that. Yeah, about a decade. But the thing is that they had the comic at least already existing. So to make it into a book was just taking that extra money. The thing is that with these Comicsgate comics, they need all of the extra money up front just to make the comic exist. They need the cost of printing and shipping just to make the comic exist. Whereas in the modern era, all you need to do is pay an artist and you can host it anywhere. And the reason why people are like, including Richard, is like, I hate digital comics. I don't like them. That's entirely emotions based, feelings based. It's the reasoning of a woman.
It was a great example
I don't like
of
how
stupid
this
and
feels.
wrong he is, and how stupid and wrong people are for not wanting to at least allow or accept digital comics. He had people asking him, "Hey, can I get a digital copy of your comic?" And he would tell them, "No, nobody wants digital copies." And it's like, "Hey, asshole, he just said he wanted one."
Yeah.
Fucking idiot.
One of you, and that it's funny because this was right after Richard was telling people that the creators of comics should just do what we're hot dog vendors. We should just do what the customer says. The customer comes up to us and says they want this, we do it for them. And then so the customer came up to Richard and said, "Hey, I want a digital copy," and Richard said no. That's Comicsgate in a nutshell. That's the end of the movement right there. The movement is a fake movement. It doesn't exist anymore. Once that happened, and again, that happened in 2018. That happened in the middle of 2018. It was very, very strange, weirdo behavior on Richard C. Meyer's part.
Cringe.
Degenerate cringe on Richard C. Meyer's part.
These
And everyone who ever supported him at that point.
The customer is always right. Okay, the customer wants this thing. I don't like it. I don't give a fuck. The customer says they want it, and it's good business.
The funny thing is, this is how we got a lot of us pointing this out years ago, is how we got other good, better creators, better than Comicsgate creators, to actually start contacting us and watching our videos. Going back to 2018. It's very interesting, very suspicious, though, on Comicsgate's part, is that the people who are making the good comics, instead of like listening to Comicsgate, were now instead listening to us. But those are just like the top 1% of creators basically were more listening to us than they were to Comicsgate, which goes to show the bottom 99% is like the bottom of the barrel, and then the top 1% is like floating in the sky miles above the barrel.
I mean, nobody listens to Comicsgate in general. I mean, think of like a lot of the big fucking
the whole listen and believe,
the
saying listen and believe isn't really based on listening. It's just the believing part. It's just the empty faith in sort of the NPC programming and just doing what you're told obediently and slavishly.
But I mean, think about some of these people, even some of the big e-celebs who like will defend Comicsgate. They don't actually talk about any of that.
Yeah,
They don't talk
they
about their
spew
comics.
platitudes. They basically spew platitudes that don't mean anything and don't amount to anything. But people convince themselves that there's some great meaning. But then they betray those principles. So everything they say, they do the opposite. It was just a little bit back to the comments, though. It's funny. These older comments, like that one, was pointing out it's 6 months late, ignored repeated requests from backers for a new ship date, but you have the time to do daily videos. And these comments are starting to get like upvotes. People are thumbs upping. In fact, here's the next one says, any updates on status? Thanks. 4 thumbs up. No reply. Then the next one says, it's been 140 days since we got an update about the book's progress, with the last 2 updates being ads for other campaigns.
There's your precious fucking respect for the customer, by the
Yeah,
way.
exactly. Well, and again, though, this is years after Mr. Respecting the Customer, Richard C. Meyer, your boy Zack, told his own customers no for something that they wanted. If you can't do it, just admit you don't hold to those principles. Just admit that you're not really in favor of doing everything the customer says. But instead, Comicsgate was all about the copium of platitudes and nothing more. They didn't have anything else. Anyways, this comment, though, points out it's been 140 days since an update. Jawbreakers Grand Bazaar should go to print in mid-November, in quotes. And also in quotes, Jawbreakers Grand Bazaar and Expendables, do ship in January 2021. And this guy says, what happened? And again, this was in March. This was 10 days ago. So it was the middle of March. A couple months, easily, a full couple of months after. And, you can say, oh, COVID or, oh, Christmas. But Common America 2 and 3 shipped without problems. Certainly without being months late of problems. Wasn't there another book? I forgot if there's a whole other book. Because I know there's Black Ops 3. And, that had a big tie-in, and that was like more around the middle. That shipped while all this shit was happening. Then Common America 2 shipped while this comic, while Jawbreakers and Expendables were late, and then Common America 3 is not only shipping, but people are getting their copies right now. And I think they like were so popular that they just have this giant block of comics still shipping. We're still waiting for ours, and the thing is that we're not waiting a long time, and I got the digital copy, so I was able to just read the comic, which is, when I go back and reread Common America, I just open the PDFs. I have the books on my shelf, and I can go read those too, and, maybe I will, sometimes I will, but I can, if I'm at my computer already, I just open the PDFs. It's like, oh, I'm reading it now, because it's the content. That's all that matters to me, is the content, not the shiny gloss, not the fucking jingling keys in your face that Comicsgate is so easily impressed with. Objectively, they're fucking completely distracted by just jingling keys in front of their face. As this guy points out, what happened with 4.99, which is another comic that the other comic Richard announced while this one was late. But that's ahead of schedule, allegedly, and fulfillment back in-house. What is the blockage that's stopping the book from getting to us? Even if it's an update saying the book is going to be later than expected, would be better than silence. Genuinely disappointed. Again, 10 days ago, 17 thumbs up. So 17 other backers came here hoping for an update. And just being like, we're getting nothing. We're just getting stonewalled by Mr. Customer Respect. And the thing is, this is why I came here just to look for information and out of curiosity. And I stayed here just to read all the angry comments, because we did a video about this over a year ago at this point. Mm-hmm. it's closer to 2 years ago, about Red Rooster, and how there were tons of comments on the Red Rooster Indiegogo campaign of people saying, "I'll never back you again. Where's an update? I'm done with comics. I will never back comics again." Again, it's like what we were just saying earlier. Is that people? This is bad for the entire medium of comics. Comicsgate, your comics are bad for the medium of comics. You guys should actually get the fuck out of the industry.
Cancer. It's creative cancer. You're killing everyone who wants to make the shit.
I love seeing this because I can't wait for these people's careers to die. Richard C. Meyer's career in comics deserves to die. It will be good for the industry. It will be good for the medium. More importantly than some dumb fucking industry is the medium. Mitch Breitweiser, once his career's dead, that's good. He should never make another comic again. If he fucking commits suicide, I will not even fucking... I will not lose a wink of sleep. I will not shed a single tear. I won't even... it will just be a blip in my memory. And the same for pretty much any other person in Comicsgate.
Hopefully it's not quiet. Hopefully it's not gentle.
Yeah,
I hope that these people they're so shamed by this that it will change the industry forever, which is good because that's still what we're trying to get out of this.
Yeah, these people are a good warning. They're a good warning example of like what not to do when you claim you're going to save the industry or the medium, is to be essentially just a grifter. There's really no other word. This is the reason why people start using grifter more often over the past year, is because specifically of people like this that are just making money from either dog shit or nothing. They're selling you something that's completely worthless and convincing you that it's worth something, and people are stupid enough to believe it. And Comicsgate, if anyone was fucking gullible enough, it's comic book fans who are the most gullible of all nerds.
Book fans who have always been in favor of this. They're always like up for these kinds of scams.
Yeah, for being defrauded.
A fucking rare cover edition of some shitty comic. Well, it's a terrible comic, but it's a rarity, so I have to pay money for it. And it looks like it costs more, so I better pay more for it. Why?
Yeah, the speculator market in comic books, which is pretty much the biggest part of the market now, is based entirely on scamming people. It's based on perceived value of something that is pretty much entirely fucking worthless. Because people aren't paying for the content, because you could just read the content digitally. Pirate it, even. You could read it for free, but you could buy it off of a fucking digital website. You could buy it off of Comixology or something. But there's artificial scarcity in the physical product. And I know somebody who makes decent money off of doing that. And to him, it's pretty much about the money. He still reads comics, but he understands like it's about other people's perception of the value of a physical book, and none of it is about the actual content of what's in the book.
None of that value is based on the merit or the quality.
Yeah, not even of the art. It's like, oh, this one has such good art, it's worth more. It's always about like how hard is this book to find, or the character in this book is just announced in one of the upcoming movies, which that's where the real interest is the movies. But people are like, oh, this book has this character, so therefore the book's now worth more because they just got announced for a medium that people actually give a shit about. Sadly, that actually matters, because comics don't matter. Comics should matter, but they don't. And they don't specifically because of the attitude of people like Richard C. Meyer.
They're especially not going to matter by people who say comics matter.
Yes, exactly. The people who say comics matter, fucking comics don't matter. To them or because of what they think.
And I don't want comics to not matter, but they don't matter. Sorry. Unfortunately. Sorry, fuckos.
Sorry, fuckhead. Anyways, the next guy says...
Peekaboo, you motherfucks, you.
Next guy says, can the customers and loyal backers please get an update on when this very late book will ship? Regardless, this is last product I will ever purchase from you unless you do something amazing in the final hour to turn this around.
I wonder if he'll do something amazing. I wonder if he'll end up doing. That's the thing is
He
really. I
won't, and
read
this
that.
guy will still buy his books.
Yeah, I read that, and the first thing I thought was whenever the book does come out, he'll be like, "Oh, it's totally worth it. It was absolutely worth the wait."
Even though it's
Everything I
utterly
ever
generic,
dreamed of.
forgettable. All of the Jawbreakers books have been completely generic and forgettable on a content level. The art for Jawbreakers Lost Souls was dog shit, actually. Straw guns. End of story. We win. You know, we're right again. A Shitty Webcomics was right again on that one. The art on the next ones have different artists specifically because John Malin's art is generic cape shit style. It's ugly. It's pretty lame. It's dressed up with a lot of coloring, but that's not going to mistake me for good art.
What I was told is that fucking Richard demanded a fucking style like Rob Liefeld. Which I don't know if that's true because that is really not something you should
That's
ever
retarded. That would be retarded for him to say, regardless of what your defense of Rob Liefeld is. That's retarded.
But I also bet that's exactly what happened because that's what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like, down to the fucking obvious anatomy errors. The fucking guy's face when he's eating the fucking ice cream.
And the feet, of course, and the hands. And, of course, the straw guns.
It's ugly. It's fucking laughable.
Here's the thing is that straw guns became a meme to make fun of how bad Comicsgate's taste in art is. And the thing is, Comicsgate is so stupid that they never caught on to that meme because they're behind the times. They're underneath. They're basically floating along the bottom of the sewer, completely unaware of the memes going on in the world above them.
That's the thing too. Is just fucking. To me, it's not even about the straw guns, which is pretty ugly by itself. It's about the motherfucking. Just the fucking characters are completely indistinguishable from each other. Yeah,
that's the thing is that the art can be shit, and I'm like, okay, this art, the art sucks, or it's an ugly style, or it looks pretty lazily drawn. But if there's something really cool happening in the comic, which I've seen comics with ugly. Tales Gets Trolled, I think, is one of the most perfect examples of a.
And that doesn't have ugly art.
It doesn't have ugly art, but it has like rudimentary art that's not exactly sloppy. Like you can tell the Laserbot put a lot of work into the art, but it's not professional grade. But it's still the comic is great.
One Punch Man is one of my favorite examples to just throw in these people's faces.
Yes, that's also...
It started as a fucking webcomic, and it became one of the biggest franchises on planet Earth today.
Yeah, it
started as a webcomic.
Just the webcomic version of One Punch Man is still more popular than anything in Comicsgate combined.
And it started as a webcomic.
Yeah, and it has really rudimentary art. It has very simple art, and that doesn't matter.
The guy who writes it is not a good artist, or rather, he's not a talented... amazing artist. He's a great writer, though.
Yeah, he had funny ideas and good jokes that were paid off with great timing, better timing in the comics than even in the anime. But again, wow, we're getting really sidetracked talking about good comics. We're supposed to be talking about Richard C. Meyer and his butt-ass, boring, retarded, devoid of... It's funny, it's like Jawbreakers Lost Souls was one of the most soulless comics released in, not just of that year, but in
flavorless, soulless. There's nothing to see, nothing to do, nothing to look at. It's literally what they were making fun of, what fucking Dave Sim made fun of for comics from the 1995 era, is that they're just mindless mayhem. And if you want mindless mayhem, you can get it done better in video games.
1,000 times better, even in video games from the early 90s, the late NES era, early Super Nintendo, early Genesis era would do all of that better than any.
All the Contra games. The Contra games are a more enjoyable comic book than comic books from that era.
Yeah,
and they're not even comic books.
They're not even comic books.
I recently replayed. I recently replayed the Contra games, and I was like, "This is fun," on an emulator.
Yeah, to just pop it on with a fucking like, oh, it's been this many years, and it's like, instead of even putting in the Contra code, I'll just save scum it. It
Yeah,
fucking like run the emulators at a slower speed. I played
have
1943, which we used to own on the Nintendo. The old Nintendo we had 1943 because I think we got it cheap and used at some fucking flea market swap meet, whatever the
yeah.
fuck.
I don't know if we paid full price or not.
I'm sure we didn't, because
I would sure hope we didn't because I could not figure out what a lot of the fucking menu shit. This is where the instruction book is supposed to help, and that's probably why
yeah, I don't think we
um,
got the instruction
you
book.
think that we didn't pay full price because if the instruction book was supposed to explain what the stupid ass powers do, they sure as shit didn't.
Yeah, but the like last month, I'm like, you know what? I have never finished this game. I think let me finish it. So I pop on the emulator and just flying around blue blue blue, and I just save scum my way and slow motion through a bunch of the parts of the game while just listening to Come Town or some other podcast, Revenge of the Sis, whatever the fuck ever.
I
Um,
have one of the buttons bound to auto fire. I have
yeah,
one bound to save state, and one's bound to load state.
Yeah, and I just blow through the game. It still took me like 3 days because I would play for like a half hour and I'd be like, "It's kind of boring, actually."
Yeah,
Um,
it's legitimately. I mean, it's kind of cool
yeah,
to level up the stuff, but it's like, okay, what does this do?
it's
I don't
it's
know.
pretty much about 30 levels of the exact same thing for like, and it's still only maybe 4 hours tops, but my patience for that is so much lower than it ever used to
Yeah, that was
be.
the thing is I played Contra, and with save states and stuff, it's like I beat it in 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's fucking Contra's definitely the Contra games are more fun and have more
They're
variety
they're
to
fun.
them.
Yeah, it was fun, and especially like two-player and stuff. Back in the day, it was like, oh, this we could get a lot of use out of this even with a Contra code. It's like, do you
Hmm.
want to play Contra? All right.
Oh, okay, that sounds fun. Hey, that sounds fun. And then I started playing. I finally, yeah, that was another thing is that I downloaded the newer version of Project 64 because I hadn't the previous version I had was like 1.6, and turns out like they have version 2.4 now. And it's like really, so I get that.
Now we're out of the fucking loop.
And I had to really fuck with it for a while just to make the controller because I have a PlayStation 4 controller plugged in here, and it turns out PlayStation 4 controllers don't work very well with Project 64, so I had to download some other program that makes the PlayStation 4 controller just emulate an average X input like a
Yeah, X input,
Xbox
an Xbox
Xbox
controller.
360 controller. So it's I got to run this program, but once I do that, this thing works perfectly, and I'm able to just now I'm playing without any problems. I'm playing fucking
Now you're playing with
with
power.
power. I'm playing Mischief Maker and Star Fox 64, and I'm like, wow. But after all that work of getting it set up, it's like, well, now I'm exhausted. Now I don't want to play anymore. And I got so
Now
many
you need
games
a
on
break.
Steam too. I've had Hexen for a long time, and I'm like, how does Hexen work exactly? How is it gonna run on my thing? And it runs through DOSBox basically, with the Steam version of Hexen. But it's a really cool game still. And then I look up, is there any guides on Hexen in the Steam thing that says to how to do anything better or make it run better? And it's like here's a thing called like G Doom, or it's called Z Doom, but the newest version is GZ Doom, and it makes it run in like modern resolutions, widescreen, with you can size up the HUD to fit with it, and it'll work with like X input controllers that you can bind the key buttons to whatever you want, and rebind all sorts of controls however you want. And it's like, oh, sweet. And it's like better mouse support than the original version. It's like, wow, that sounds great. So I start playing it. It's like, wow, this game is still pretty fucking cool. Because I'm not really into the old FPS games like that, but it's like more better than Mindless Mayhem, even. And again, how does a comic book compete, especially when, say, like in Jawbreakers, none of the characters have any personalities? They're completely interchangeable from each other, almost visually, but their personalities they don't stand out from each other. Any character in Jawbreakers, you could swap their lines around and you wouldn't tell the difference because they don't really say anything different from each other, except for black guy once makes a line about black person joke, haha. And that's it. That's all they got.
There's
It's
one
like how
character who never speaks at all.
Yeah. And it's just irrelevant, and that's fucking comics. That's the comics industry. That's the comics business. But that's even the revolution away from the SJ, like SJW comics are still made with more passion than Comicsgate comics are. And that's really that's fucked up. That's fucking weird. What's the point of that? How does that even function? But it goes right in the face of everything that Comicsgate claims to believe, and yet so does the whole lie, that bullshit about respecting the customers, and we're hot dog vendors that should just be hot dog vendors and give the customer what they want. When they request something, we should do it, and then the customer requests something and they say no. So that should end this part. We'll continue on with another part. And again, these are all bonus videos. If you want to see these, donate to our Subscribe Star. It's linked below, subscribestar.adult/smuglaley. You'll get all sorts of extra bonus videos that are not posted in public because people in Comicsgate have false flagged them when we post them in public. I'd love to post all of these in public, but we can't anymore, and it's because of Comicsgate. Comicsgate believes in censorship more than they believe in good comics, proven by their actions, not their empty, hollow, soulless words. So again, that's why your favorite creators behind your back say you should have listened to shitty webcomics. All right, part two of this series where we're just going over Richard C. Meyer's recent comics or comments for his comic crowdfunding campaign, where the honeymoon seems to be over. There's this next page. The first comment is just the guy who has already commented a few times, but later he just says, "Zach." Gary.
And a minigun mows down everyone in Comicsgate to death. And then
Gary. It looks like the same guy also replies earlier. Like 15 days ago he says Zach, and 21 days ago he says Zach, spelling it differently each time. But he says,
but his name. Then again, his name's not Zach. It's Richard C. Meyer.
It's Richard C. Meyer.
That's why he's not getting a reply.
Just let him be Richard C. Meyer, you guys. Come on. What's wrong? What's wrong? Your name's not Zach. Faggot. Anyways.
Faggot, bitch, cuck, faggot, ass, fuck, faggot.
Faggot. Anyways.
Anyway.
He says, Zach, please provide an update on what month this book will ship to its backers. It's already 6 months late with no specific month of when it will ship. This is frustrating and making me not want to have my money tied up in crowdfunding. First of all, don't crowdfund comics. Then. Don't crowdfund comics, period. But also,
crowdfund comics, but be a little selective. Finally, it's like fucking Nicolas Cage and how selective he is about taking movie roles.
It's like, maybe you should consider being selective at all. But
can you try? Can you even try? Have you ever thought?
Have you ever
had a thought? Have you ever thought?
But it's funny, this comment from like what looks like the same guy has 18 upvotes. So a lot of other people clearly felt the same way. But 21 days ago, so it was about a month, no response and no update, and then many other comments that Richard is essentially just ignoring. These are his fans and customers that Richard is just ignoring and, in a way, lying to. Partially through omission, but then he also lies directly to them before this, which we're getting to because this is in sort of reverse order, or not sort of reverse order. Also, 21 days ago, another person says, so if I'm to understand your recent video, you're going to fulfill your $4.99 in Impossible Stars campaign before the Jawbreakers Grand Bazaar.
Grand bizarre how you still have a fucking career, you stupid ass
Yes,
fucking loser fag.
well, it won't be bizarre for long. Most likely, that career is going away because all these people who are responding, and some of them are the same person over and over again, but they're also still representative of other customers who just feel ripped off and cheated now. And they're not going to be coming back the same way they hadn't been coming back after the first one. The same with Cyberfrog. Cyberfrog lost a giant amount of its backers between its first actual comic campaign and its next one. In fact, all the backers it got were the same people, several of them on sock puppet accounts. In fact, they got caught doing that, but also most of them were just the exact same small plateau of people, just backing over and over again or backing on the next book. And the thing is that many of the initial backers from the very beginning, they left. First of all, because they were just doing it to generally show support. They didn't care about the comic, but even some of the people who got the comic realized they didn't really... what they paid for was not even worth it. And that's also what happened with Jawbreakers, of course, and most Comicsgate comics. A lot of them are having trouble breaking $1,000 or $10,000. If they break $10,000, then they hit that. But most of the people who don't get $10,000 have trouble breaking even $1,000. So the honeymoon's over. The market, Comicsgate essentially saturated its own market with some of the worst shit with zero merit. And Comicsgate was sort of forced to, at least subconsciously, accept that they weren't rewarding merit, they were just rewarding platitudes. Which shows the emptiness of the whole movement and the idea, but also the emptiness of the people who supported it. They didn't really believe in anything.
Their words are as empty as the souls.
This guy, again, the same person who was also commenting earlier, says, Zach, it's been over 30 days since an update on when this book will ship. Will you provide an ETA? Thank you.
Only 30 days?
Goodness
what
gracious.
Are they? Well, they not used to Comicsgate? Where you're fucking normally late by 3 years?
Yeah, this is average for Comicsgate. Most Comicsgate comics are either late by multiple years, or they've come out and you wish they would be late because a lot of them are just fucking disaster. Not even shipped in bags, shipped as junk mail. Giant editorial glaring flaws in the fucking actual book.
Just poorly made in general, boring,
poorly
shit
conceived.
Art.
It's like poorly made, okay, but even from the beginning.
What's worse though? What's worse, the actual shit quality of the books? Or being gaslit that it's the greatest book ever by fucking stupid idiots.
Comicsgate essentially gaslights themselves into believing some of the most retarded shit ever.
I don't know. To me, that would be fucking infuriating.
But it's like that old joke about Comicsgate. It's literally, the joke is older than most Comicsgate's actual books and releases. Is the only thing worse than a late Comicsgate book is a Comicsgate book that actually comes out, because they're so fucking bad. I had to spell that out for the Comicsgate fans who may ever listen to this, which is not likely because they're fucking very used to their echo chambers and hug boxes. Yes, the little low IQ brainlet commoner plebs in Comicsgate, who are terrified of objective reality and facts, but also just terrified of any viewpoint outside of their echo chambers. Anyways, another comment says, hey, Zach, you should start including updates about this campaign on your vids with the other books. I watch them daily-ish and had to finally check here.
Talk about a brainwave.
Yes, fucking we have these brain wars pretty often. Did you just call an argument a brain war? But the guy says, I watch them daily-ish and had to finally check here and see if I somehow missed this being fulfilled. But, well, no, you haven't missed. That was 22 days ago. Still haven't missed anything.
Don't worry, you won't miss it being fulfilled. You're never going to miss it being fulfilled.
This one's basically a joke. Like, if this happened to the SJW comics, they would be fucking... Comicsgate would be making like 20 different Comicsgate YouTubers would be
They'd
making
be
videos of
making
this screen cap alone.
4 videos a day about this.
Yes. This one is from some lady, apparently, saying, "This is my first experience with Indiegogo, let alone Meyer. I would just like to know what's going on. ID, blah, blah, blah." And Richard actually does reply to this one. He doesn't reply to any of the others, but he replies to this one saying, "Hi, fulfillment begins next month. This comment was posted 1 month ago. Fulfillment still hasn't started.
And it
In
sounds
fact,
like
the
a
month has
form
ended."
letter. Why is he responding like it's a form letter? I thought he wanted better responses, better customer service, and yet he's treating them exactly the same way everyone treated
Well, yeah,
them.
what Comicsgate really meant when they said that was they want a parasocial relationship. They want the creators of comics to basically act like they're your friends in real life and reply to you with like, "Oh, you're a cool fan. Thank you so much for being a fan. I appreciate you so much. Here, have a hand job. You want me suck your dick." Anyways,
Who's gonna do a reach route?
this one, I think this one was from the Expendables campaign because this is, or oh no wait, this one is from the fucking Jawbreakers Grand Bazaar. But Richard did reply to this. He didn't reply to any of the others, but only the one from 11 hours ago, which again the screen cap was from at least 1 day ago. But this was the guy who said, "A call to backers, please contact Zack and or Indiegogo to demand a new ship date commitment, blah, blah, blah." We covered this comment in the previous video.
But yeah, first off, his name's not Zach.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that. His name's not Zach.
Yeah,
so if you're trying,
that was
to
actually
Zach,
that was the point we made when we covered this comment in the previous video. But Richard did reply to it saying, "Hello, I typically do capital U updates on the last day of each month. I missed February, but I did one in January. Today's the last day of this month." So maybe Richard made another update. But the thing is, his previous update said that the comic would be late, but it would be shipping, like, within the next couple of weeks. And that was 2 months ago.
he fucking totally. He just botched that.
Yeah, shit that one down his leg. Anyways, here's, again, going back to older comments.
He pissed a shit out of his dick down his leg.
And back up into his own ass. That's actually kind of impressive. It's the only thing impressive about him.
I would almost be impressed. It's certainly more impressive than any of the comics he's ever made.
His comics are fucking boring dog shit for retarded faggots. 1 month ago, some guy says, "Another one in the Where Is It Club here." So there had already been, by a month ago, there had already been a lot of people pestering him about how late the comic was. But this guy says, "Has it actually shipped? Ordered the combo ID, blah, blah, blah." That they're giving their order IDs so that Richard can look it up and be like, "Oh, yours is still shipping," or "Yours is about to ship." But he hadn't shipped any of them yet. And he still hasn't. That's the problem. People are thinking, clearly, Richard has shipped by now because he said it was finished.
I mean, he lied to us all those other times before, but he would never lie to us a 50th time.
The thing is that he didn't lie about the backing because, or the previous comics shipped because they were going smoothly. All of a sudden something goes wrong and Richard doesn't really know what to do or how to respond. That all that customer support and service just went out the fucking window. And again, these are from a month ago, and there's been no progress update. No helping to placate the fans. He doesn't even mention it. Like, he'll do a fucking video on his YouTube channel about Justice League. He saw the Snyder Cut, and he really likes it.
That's a 4-hour movie, by the way, which means he had to put aside 4 hours to watch it.
Yeah, he probably put aside 4 hours multiple times. In fact, apparently just some guy left a comment saying that he's seen the entire Snyder Cut several times now. And it's like, why? So you've wasted more than 4 hours. Wow, that's really stupid.
Well, you know what I actually did is I actually watched some of the. You sent me the Snyder Cut into the Dropbox last night.
We illegally pirated it.
I went and watched it for free because somebody sent it up to us for free because we asked for it, because there's no fucking way I'm paying money for that bullshit. That would be stupid. So I fucking watched bits and pieces of it. I probably watched about 1 hour of the 4 hours, but I got up to about the 3 hour mark because I just skimmed the fucking video.
You had already seen you actually did watch the final
Yes.
hour of it with me when I first watched it, though.
I'd watched about 2 other hours of it previously
Yeah.
beforehand.
And it's
But
here's the thing: is that it is a better movie, but it is incredibly stupid. We also watched the Mahler review, which was like 2 hours.
That was the one thing we watched all the way through. No skimming, no fucking around. I watched all 2+ hours of the Mahler review where he makes fun of it. I watched that in a solid chunk, just marathoned it.
I actually liked Mahler's review quite a lot because it points out what a lot of other people are afraid to. There are a lot of incredibly stupid, pointless things in the Snyder Cut that have really no narrative purpose at all. They're just there to kind of fill time.
Which he absolutely doesn't need to do. It's a 4-hour fucking movie. Why you need to fill time in a movie that's already 4 fucking hours?
It's really a 3-hour movie or 2.5-hour movie that takes 4 hours to play out. That's all that the Snyder Cut. And the plot is the exact same as the Joss Whedon version, except that Darkseid is slightly involved, tangentially involved. Very.
He shows up to talk. He shows up to talk a few times.
Yes.
He also loses a really easy fight
Yes.
at the beginning of the movie.
I don't know about an easy fight, but it's a giant war scene, and it's like, oh, it's against the other superheroes, and he loses, and it's like, what was so special about those other superheroes? Maybe we should be watching their story instead of Justice League, but okay, whatever. I'm still completely willing to go along with that, though.
That would be an interesting fucking movie, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Just watch a fucking movie about these fucking other superheroes from like 3 million years ago, or whatever.
Anyways, another comment says, yeah, just poking my head in to see where the books are. 5 up votes, 0 down votes, no reply. Another comment says, oh, these comments aren't what I wanted to see. Yeah, my books didn't come yet either. Jawbreakers, Grand Bazaar, and the Expendables go to hell. What's up, guy? 7 up votes, 1 down vote, which I don't even know why.
Wait, hold on a second. What is this comment section for? Is it for a joint venture of 2 separate fucking comics?
No, this is just for Jawbreakers, Grand Bazaar.
Now, why the fuck are they mentioning the fucking Hellraiser book?
The Expendables one is because the Expendables book was also supposed to come out at the same time.
And yet they have to bring it up in the same fucking thing.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's kind of justified because there's no reason why both of them couldn't have come out. In fact, there is a story. We've, mentioned it a few times in the previous video, but there is a story behind Richard's excuses for Expendables Go to Hell not being out yet, which still don't make sense because, again, it was months ago. Here, another comment says, never received Jawbreakers Grand Bazaar graphic novel. Your contribution ID is blah, 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 please sent. And I don't know if that means they are expecting the book, which isn't out yet, apparently, or a refund, which they don't say refund. It just says please sent. I think they want the book, which... I'm
sure a lot of these people are like, I want my book.
Yeah.
Where is my book?
But the most telling one, which I sort of highlighted a bunch of stuff at the at the bottom. Oh, there, I can zoom on it very nicely. A guy from 2 months ago, so this is like the oldest comment so far, says, just a heads up, Richard, Indiegogo is trying to make me say bad things about you by enticing me to say that your book didn't ship and how I felt about it via a questionnaire. Didn't do it yet. I have confidence the book is coming. Pissed. Just a quiet whisper of advice, semicolon. Send out the damn book. Thank you. P.S. Good luck with Rock and Roll Ninjas. 10 upvotes and 1 downvote.
What the fuck is Rock and Roll Ninjas? Oh no, a downvote. Oh no.
A downvote. That's another book that he announced that it was announced while this comic was still not being
just based on the title, it sounds like a fucking middle finger to the face of everyone who is trying to buy his books.
Or anyone who's dedicated to like something original or creative. It's like Rock and Roll Ninjas is basically like what somebody comes up with when they have no ideas and when they're low
it's
IQ.
fucking ninja. It's less creative than was it Ninjas versus Pirates.
Yes.
And a fucking ninja will totally flip out and chop off someone's head.
Oh yeah, that's
more
right.
creative.
Wow, that's an old fucking reference too. Those were fucking funny though. Because that was a parody of like the tendency for people to just put ninja into something as some kind of fucking shortcut to fucking creativity. Is like when you put ninja into something, it just goes to show how retarded you are. So somebody like 20 years ago did like Pirates versus Ninjas, where the whole plot was ninja flip out and chop a guy head off, then they tenderly pork or something like that. And it's like
well, it was just fucking. I think it was a also a Chainsaw Suit comic where it was the hipster band.
Yeah,
and the hipster band's brilliant idea for a song, which is just fucking epic bacon ninja bacon
pirate
Chuck Norris pirate fucking.
And then our next song is Carl Sagan Bacon Ninja, and just fucking again. That's more creative than Rock and Roll Ninja. That goes to show how on like the bottom level of creativity that Richard C. Meyer is that he doesn't even rise to that level of self-aware irony.
No. This next song is called Launchpad McQuack. That's not the name of the song. This is not the final name of the song.
Whatever.
That is fucking more creative and funny.
Yes.
Than fucking anything that Comicsgate has ever done in their entire careers. Their entire existence.
Comicsgate.
Comicsgate.
Here, another comment. Again, we're going, older and older as we go through these. Somebody saying 2 months ago, my wallet's closed till Jawbreakers and Expendables get delivered, and yes, I know Stars and $4.99 are ahead of schedule,
ahead of schedule. His other comics that should have been delivered a while ago are behind schedule, but these other two comics that we know nothing about are ahead of schedule. Well, which is it then?
Yeah, one's Impossible Stars, which is like, oh, bad guy. It's about aliens quarantined Earth, and Earth is gonna fucking try and get out.
It's V. It's V, the miniseries.
Except with like some attempt at relevance to the whole coronavirus.
But he also already did that. He rushed out a story. We had that from Dan Fan. She reviewed his comic about what was it?
Pandemic. About some chick who basically does things that have no justification or validation in the story. She just does random things. And then it's like, oh, but the evil government's after her. And it's like, over what? And it's like, oh, they're just after her. And that's the entire story. Then the story ends. And that's it. And even she was like, there's not really anything going on here. She was trying to be nice. She was trying a little too hard.
She's trying to be nice, but she's not fucking in the pocket of Comicsgate like some of these other fucking comic reviewers.
Yeah, those sellout, listen and believe shills, which is what most of Comicsgate consists of. And wants openly. Ethan himself specifically wants and demands listen and believe shills, and he gets really mad if somebody refuses to be one. And that's not our opinion either. That's the opinion of people. Well, not opinion, but it's the observation of people who know Ethan Van Sciver privately more than anyone in Comicsgate knows Ethan Van Sciver. Anyways, that last comment has 9 upvotes. The next one just says, I'm hyped, 1 upvote. Next one says, glad to hear it. I know it sucks to be stuck like that, and how great it feels when
this person knows what it's like to make a comic.
Yeah, apparently these guys are real comics pros. They know what they're talking about here. And I mean that sardonically. Can't wait to read it. I think I might need to reread the run before that. Yeah, you can do that in about 5 seconds because nothing happens in any of it. Just flip through it. You don't even have to read the dialogue because the dialogue doesn't say anything. There is no story to these comics.
They add dialogue because otherwise, if you don't add dialogue, you haven't written anything.
I would, That's unironically the viewpoint that
Yes.
Comicsgate has about comics.
Yes.
But I legitimately would have been way more impressed if Jawbreakers Lost Souls, the entire book, had no dialogue. I'd be like, shit, they're telling a story just visually. That takes more work technically. But no, they put in all the captions of like 5 days ago and tomorrow and 3 hours earlier and all that shit. And then now and then later and, just the completely pointless narration captions and all that shit. Um, Another guy says, please tell me Renzo will still do the art for Jawbreakers forever. Another comment says, so did this book ship out yet? 2 months ago. So did this book ship out yet? From Canada. So I guess I would be in the international group. And Richard replies saying, not yet. Which goes to show, it doesn't matter if it's international or not, if the book's not even sending out. Um, and here we're showing the older these comments get, the more cucks there are, and the more fucking people just trying to huff the copium. Uh, because as time keeps passing and passing, especially without an explanation, um, more and more people are like, okay, something's wrong. This is fucking. We're sort of getting cheated. So 3 months ago, and it also goes to show how less frequent the comments are. People aren't saying shit for a long time. 3 months ago, hyped. My address is all good to go. The next comment, 4 months ago, can't wait. And then 4 months ago, how's progress been since the October 31 update? Have there been any major updates? The next one says, when are we going to get the first look at Valverde, who was first teased as a new hero, female Boba Fett-like character? I'm really curious as to what she looks like and who she is. Of course, there's no personality to any of the characters, so really the only selling point is she's like Boba Fett, which Boba Fett didn't have a personality much either. But he had more personality in just like 1 minute of Empire than all of the Jawbreakers comics combined. Um, Here's a comment from 5 months ago. Thanks for the update. Great to hear. They should be at the printers later this month. So Richard was telling people 5 months ago that the comic would be at the printers later in that month. 5 months pass. If the comics weren't at the printers, he lied. If the comics are at the printers, he's lying to people in some way about why they don't have it yet. But then, here's 6 months ago when the comic was supposed to be out. Cool variant cover, ya boy, which is really gay and outdated. Um, just a quick question, will you do a Jawbreakers omnibus? No reply to that. I ask because EVS is doing his warts and all. I need more good books. Maybe you should actually consider trying to get some for a change. Um, Variant looks dope rich. Another comment says alternative cover looks awesome, which goes to show these people aren't really buying a comic; they're buying alternative covers and gimmicks. Um, Another one says alternative cover looks great. Wish I had held out for it. Um, Here, a comment from 2 months ago, and I'm not sure if this was for the Expendables campaign. So within a couple of months, some of us should be getting Expendables, Jawbreakers, Impossible Stars, and 4.99. Yep. And then, again, it's been a couple of months. Doesn't look like they're getting any of it. And then here's 4.99, which is his other comic that he launched. And you can see the art is all kinds of fucking wonky. It's stylish, but it also looks very rudimentary. It looks like it was done in fucking paint and shit. But here's the thing, if you are charging less for this or something, that's fine. If you're charging like the price of, say, $2 or $3 for this comic, then making it look cheap like this, it's still kind of a ripoff, but it's like, yeah, cool. If you release this as a webcomic, I'd be like, okay, yeah. And if you were just taking funding for paying the artist, but no, this is $4.99, and the Cold War era paranoia meets 80s slasher flick, kids versus their war hero parents, to the death. Which doesn't really mean anything, because usually he'll do that pitch, then you read the whole comic and nothing like that actually happens, or something only vaguely like that happens, but it's so ham-fisted. that there's no depth beyond that. It's literally just that, and it without any, like, there's no personality to the kids, there's no personality to the parents, there's no personality to the world, there's no actual world building. It's just a lot of really stock, stale dialogue, but also goes to show this campaign ended, it got 1,200 backers. So the campaign's, again, continuing to shrink. And 1,200 backers also was, let me go back to this, 1,200 backers was less than Common America 2 and 3. And then the thing is that Common America 2 and 3 didn't make as much money, which means 4.99 is gouging its customers. More money from less people, whereas Common America is more people paying less money for the comics because those books are only $10 each. And then there's the digital editions too that I think were still only like $5 or something, but most people would take the physical editions because the books are so good and the presentation is good. Presentation for all of Tim and Mark's books is better than, pretty much everyone in Comicsgate, but especially Richard's books. But the presentation, fuck that, throw that all out the window. The content is better in Tim and Mark's books. The content is better in a fucking ordinary average webcomic than in any of Richard C. Meyer's books. And that's on an objective, quantifiable level, too. Here is... I think these are the comments, though, for... not for $4.99, but for... $4.99 is such a terrible title, too, because it sounds like a price for how much the book should cost, but the book doesn't cost $4.99. Or if it does, I'm sure it doesn't, but it's like I should have taken a screen cap, but I don't care how much the book costs. I know it'll suck. Because the same way that people, well, not the same way, but a lot of people in Comicsgate, including George Alexopoulos, funny enough, was saying that they knew that Cyber Frog Blood Honey would be great. And it's like, no, you don't know, because the book doesn't exist yet. And it didn't come out yet. And then when it did come out, people were like, oh, this isn't even close to great. This is kind of... It has pretty art and coloring to dress up a very dumb, boring, soulless, lifeless story with completely bland characters. And essentially a setup for a story. It was like a 40-page setup that people paid out the ass for. That ends on a cliffhanger without really telling anyone anything that goes on in the story. So people just got ripped off brutally with Cyber Frog Blood Honey. Anyways, I think these comments are from Expendables, and here's like this same guy who commented on the other campaign saying, a call to backers, contact Zack and or Indiegogo, blah, blah, blah. And Richard says, hello, I typically do updates on the last day of each month. Here's the next comment 2 days ago, which would now be about 3 days ago, I think, saying, if the holdup is getting Stallone to sign off on the project, that's understandable. He's a busy dude, and this is low on his to-do list. Just say so. But if you're waiting on some bullshit extras like dog tags and trading cards, you've lost sight of the prize. Be honest. Now, Richard C. Meyer needs his customers to tell him to be honest, to start being honest. Is very telling. In fact, this comment is worth getting more into in the next part. We'll cut this off and we'll continue on the next part. So, make sure, if you're donating to our Subscribe Star, you get to access to all these videos early or at all. There's a lot of videos that are not going public because we can't post them public. So linked below our Subscribe Star, $5 pay pig tier to check out all of our forbidden knowledge that Comicsgate doesn't want you listening to. Objectively, that's not even my opinion. A lot of people in Comicsgate have openly admitted they don't want people listening to our videos. They want our videos hidden. They false flag our videos too. So yeah, if you want access to go check that out. I wish I could make them cheaper, but we made them $1 and people would just donate $1 to be able to false flag our channel again. So over videos like this, Again, it's just a critical analysis and facts, and people would false flag it. That's why it's called false flagging, as opposed to, just flagging. But, check that out and come back next time. Go, we're drunk, go away, and should have listened to Shitty Webcomics. Continuing on with part 3, and I basically continued it off because my brother was out of the room for a second, and I wanted to make sure that we went over this comment. We basically got through all the comments for the Jawbreakers Grand Bazaar, and then I think I got to the part with the comments for the Expendables Go to Hell comic. And so I figure start by crack 'em, and then
Oh no.
This comment says it's from 2 days ago, which means about 3 days ago actually. But it says there's a lot to unpack, as they say in this comment.
It's quite the invisible knapsack.
Invisible knapsack. But this guy says, if the holdup is getting Stallone to sign off on the project, that's understandable. He's a busy dude, and this is low on his to-do list. Just say so. But if you're waiting on some bullshit extras like dog tags or trading cards, you've lost sight of the prize. Be honest, unless you can't because of contractual obligations and limitations. It has 3 up votes and 0 down votes, but no comment either.
Yeah, he's not going to reply to this. That seems like a bit of disrespect to the customer.
Yeah, it implies though that that Richard legally can't even be honest. But first, let's start off with.
Yeah, well, we got backpedal. Hold on,
so hard. Not backpedal, but we got to backtrack to the beginning. If the holdup on this comic is getting Stallone to sign off on the project. Now, this was 2 days ago, and apparently I found out after reading this comment, this very weird, very strange comment, that wasn't the deal. Richard apparently said he was nervous about sending the finished comic off to the printers, but he was only nervous about that a few months ago, after the comic was already late or something. I don't know, but the implication that Stallone didn't sign off on the Expendables comic until 6 months after it's late or something, that actually isn't understandable. That doesn't make any sense. But the implication that Stallone hasn't done this, and also that he's a busy dude and this is so unimportant to him.
It's beneath his notice, beneath contempt.
Yeah, and also that this fan, you got to respect the customers. So, hey, how don't you respect this guy just saying, hey, just say so. Just say that you're unimportant to Sylvester Stallone. It's that's kind of insulting, but it's the kind of insult that Richard deserves because something I took all these screen caps and I basically was just sort of live blogging this on our Discord. That's really where our real content is. But now that we have the subscribe star, we're a little more dedicated to actually making videos. So while I was going through this, I thought it was very strange that that idea of Sylvester Stallone, not signing off and not being respectful, but also more importantly, that Richard just wanted to do this comic or wanted to be involved because he wanted that parasocial relationship, to act like he was in any way involved with Sylvester Stallone. So Richard can act like now he's a legitimate person because he's working on this comic by this comic of a property by a big Hollywood actor. And it's does that really make you who you are? Does that make you something? In your eyes, does that make you important? Because it wouldn't to me.
Really what you need in this life?
It would be good for money if my goal was hey, I can get money, I can get credibility. If that's all I wanted, then sure. But the thing is that with money and credibility, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to make good comics? No, because you're not capable of it. You've never been capable of it, judging objectively by the massive, objective, quantifiable editing flaws in the original first Jawbreakers comic, and then the other Jawbreakers comics that he actually got people to pay money for.
It's
But
everything in his entire fucking career in general.
that's pretty bad too. But then also the implication that, but if you're waiting on some bullshit extras, calling his extras bullshit, which is pretty insulting. That's essentially what
But it's
Comicsgate's
also
been
deserved.
doing to creators, is
That is,
insulting
he
them.
deserves it, though.
It's
He
just
does
saying
deserve that.
your extras are bullshit, your things are bullshit, your comics are bullshit. Thing is that it's been deserved to the SJW creators, but it's also deserved in kind to Comicsgate. But the bullshit extras like dog tags or trading cards, apparently, what Richard announced for Expendables is now everyone will get the dog tags tier. Well, where you get some fake dog tags.
They're fucking fake dog tags.
Yeah, it's like little stamped aluminum, like it's some tin foil with a fucking names stamped on them. They're probably just fucking names of the creators of the comics. And it's like, who cares? Who gives it? What does that mean? How, it's kitsch. It's empty merch. It's not going to enrich your life. It's like Mike David said about the figurines are very stupid. They don't even make you happy. You just hope that if you get 1 million of them, you'll be able to feel the happiness emotion, but you won't. But this guy says, if you're waiting on bullshit extras like dog tags, you've lost sight of the prize. They've lost sight of the prize years ago. They lost sight of the Comicsgate, lost sight of the prize, and Richard too, especially, lost sight of the prize in 2018 when he put out a comic that was very bad, objectively bad. It's fucking there's really no way around it. It's quantifiable how bad the Jawbreakers Lost Souls was. Even the art, but the art I can always ignore. I can say, hey, the art sucks, but whatever. The writing was terrible. Which is why he has Chuck Dixon. He just uses the money he gets for all of these to just pay Chuck Dixon. And Chuck Dixon just takes a bog standard fucking contract pay. But this guy's telling Richard, this fan is telling Richard, be honest. Now, if the fan's telling Richard to be honest, is the fan wrong, or is Richard not being honest? Or is it both, even?
Could be both.
It's most likely both because of the sheer incompetence of everything. But he says, be honest unless you can't because of contractual obligations. In other words, you're such a shill sellout that you have to do what these big fancy Hollywood contracts are telling you, to be silent. Anyways, another guy who has commented many, many times, he almost looks butt flustered about how this comic is so late. But he comments again 4 days ago, so it's like 2 days before the previous comment, saying it's telling that you have 2 funded campaigns, Jawbreakers and Expendables, with an original ship date. They're now almost 6 months late, ignored repeated requests, but have time to do daily videos and launch 2 net new campaigns. It's the same comment that he left on the Jawbreakers campaign, so it was like just copied and pasted it. But since he's a backer of this, he is able to do that. I would almost say, what is the viability of just having the moral right to ignore customers like this? Because we're looking at 3 comments. 2 are by the same guy. One saying, call to backers, please contact Zack and or Indiegogo. And then, a few days earlier, him saying, oh, it's telling that you have 2 funded campaigns. All that stuff. Like, not necessarily tell these customers to go to hell or shut up or fuck off, but to just ignore them. What's the moral right? Because if there's no moral right, that means Richard C. Meyer is a bad person and a bad creator. If there is a moral right, then where is your fucking principle in Comicsgate of respect the customers? You betray it through that action.
Something that they say that they're for.
Either way, Comicsgate has betrayed its own principles and its uniform. Here's another comment 7 days ago. Back to the drawing board for fulfillment on Expendables and Grand Bazaar per your last vid. Doesn't sound promising. Hopefully, whatever you figure out equals very soon. Dot dot dot. This is weird because again, I'm not subscribed to his channel, and the people who are subscribed haven't mentioned this because everything has been, fucked. It doesn't really change how he's fucked. How Richard is basically shit his pants in an epic fashion here. But back to the drawing board for fulfillment sounds like the comics aren't even done. If you have to start over for fulfillment, you had 6 months to do that, and this is a
not just
week ago.
that, he's done campaigns before.
Yeah,
This isn't the
several
first
completely
campaign.
successful. Well, I won't say completely successful. The first one, his books got slammed up pretty bad. There were a lot of damaged books of Jawbreakers, Lost Souls, and Comicsgate was allowed to go into pathological mentally ill denial about that because some people didn't get damaged books. So because some people in Comicsgate didn't get damaged books, they denied that there were any damaged books when in fact there were many.
Most likely those were review copies or specifically people in his pocket.
Well, I can
who
believe
were
it's
going to
random,
give him
but also
positive reviews no matter what.
some people probably received damaged books and claimed that they didn't. That they got fucking perfectly fine, pristine
Yes,
books.
yes.
But the people who got pristine books all took screen caps of theirs and was like, there's nothing wrong with the books. They're just fine. You're just lying. Meanwhile, other people, other creators in Comicsgate who I personally knew, who fucking, not just customers, but creators in Comicsgate who got their copies, got theirs all smashed up. So I knew, in essence, that Comicsgate supporters were liars. And there's
And
no
they had
denying
already
that. They
lied.
are lying people.
That wasn't the first lie they told.
Yeah, Comicsgate people are lying sacks of shit by nature, and then also they lied about that. About, you cuck Zack being a perfect, infallible shipping comics guy.
He's also the guy who threatened to sue people
Yes.
for fucking claiming that there were fucking flaws.
So again,
in
not just a
comics.
lying sack of shit, but immoral to the core and a dishonest and corrupt person by nature. That's the proof of that. The fact that he would even threaten to sue anyone for pointing out facts means he is a corrupt person who doesn't
Why
actually
would you
believe
do that?
anything.
Why
But
would
the
you ever do something like that?
But
That's
also,
disgusting.
the fact that Comicsgate would then make excuses for him and simp for him shows that the movement of Comicsgate, not just Richard or general supporters, but the movement collectively, is corrupt and immoral by nature, irrefutably. The argument for that was years ago and over. Comicsgate lost that argument years
They're
ago.
also stupid. Not just that they're immoral, but also stupidly immoral.
So if
Just
anyone in Comicsgate ever
youthful
wanted to
idiots.
try to bring that to try to re-argue that argument, they already lost years ago. So it's like, go ahead and try, but you have lost. Whatever your excuse is, I'm throwing it in the garbage because you had years to even try and you lost the argument at first, at the very beginning. Then you went silent in cowardly shame, by as which is as your nature and as comic book nerds. Um, Here's another comment that says, I'm fine with late shipping. Thanks for dog
Why?
tags.
Why are you fine with late shipping, though?
Yeah, well, I'd be fine with late shipping if it's like a couple weeks because something went wrong and they pointed out. Like, apparently there's going to be maybe a week delay on the Common America 3 stuff. Like, we haven't gotten ours yet because they said they released an update saying something went wrong with some of the printing. So that
I can
delay.
comprehend that, and they also told us ahead of time.
Yes.
That's what it
This,
was.
though,
That was the issue.
This one is 6 months late, and here's the thing. This sounds like a cuck at first, of course. I'm fine with late shipping, thanks for dog tags. But then he says, not fine with Splato Comics. Terrible fucking name. Retarded faggot name, by the way.
Didn't think of
Lotto
it at all.
Comics non-branding Mr. Generic Robot profile. Backed $4.99 despite stealth campaign drop. Back fucking idea. I don't know if he meant bad fucking idea. And then not backing Rock and
Sure,
Roll
it's a
Ninjas.
bad fucking idea.
It is a bad fucking idea. But
Fucking
then he says,
terrible.
not backing Rock and Roll Ninjas, WTF, dude, focus. So now you're losing customers because you're incompetent. You're
Your
incompetent and you're
customers
trying
look
to flood your
down
own
on
market.
you now. Your own customers are looking down on you and thinking of you as incompetent.
Yeah, instead
They
of putting out
think
regular
they
content,
can
you're
do
putting
better.
out a ton of content all at once that's backing up and not even coming out properly.
Your
What he should
own
have is somebody
customers.
else to do the full. He should have somebody else do these campaigns for him. He could pay somebody easily to do these campaigns for him, but the thing is, that wouldn't leave a lot of money for him. That would leave very little money left for him to even pocket, and to pay the bills. Because the reality of this, that we've talked to a lot of creators, some of them who have been involved in Comicsgate, and the fact is, whatever you make in your fucking campaign, you actually only get maybe 20% of it at the end. 80% of it is overhead. 80% overhead. That is a bad fucking business model.
You're
Unless
not
you're
even.
fine with just making like
We
tiny
already
bits of money.
know they fucking shipped a lot of these comics that they made for cheap in order to fucking save money so that they could pocket it. But they're also wasting a lot of it
Yeah.
in general anyway.
They printed the books cheap. The books are cheaply printed, and then the books are also cheaply shipped. With like they'll take like $10 or $20 for shipping, and then they'll spend like $5 for shipping. They will pocket as much of that money, as much of your customer money as they possibly can, and not give you what you paid for. And in fact, then they will attack other creators who actually make you pay the proper amount, which is usually insane, especially for international, but it is what you have to pay because, hey, you want physical comics. You won't take anything else. That's not their fault. That's your fault as a customer. There's no blame on the fucking creator for making you pay like $50 for international shipping or $70 for international shipping. Anyways, this comment continues though. You need better centralized messaging. Pre-roll / post-roll on YouTube vids isn't good enough. In fact, YouTube videos are really, if you're making like, oh, I'm doing my comic reviews, that's not a good way to get any news out. That's not a good way to have any centralized messaging. In fact, the updates section of these Indiegogo campaigns is the best way for the centralized messaging. The thing is that he has been ducking his backers. He's been ducking these campaigns for months. He says pre and post roll video on YouTube vids isn't good enough. I'm watching fewer of those. So again, he's losing, not just his customers are starting to just fucking sour on him, but even his YouTube viewers are just getting tired of him. And I think this isn't, again, I stated this before in like part 1 of this series, but I don't think this is actually because the comics are late. I think it's because after he backed off of the Mark Waid lawsuit, people realized just how little Richard C. Meyer has to give anyone. His comics suck, his YouTube videos are the same shit, and he's not fighting the culture war as they claim to want. He's really just doing nothing. He wants to just be a YouTube star. That's really all he wants.
Money. He's jacking the money from his own fans, and he's using it basically to he's just glad handing himself.
Yeah, to celebrate himself and gloat. And it's funny, he's really smug about it. But then if you point out, hey, they really fucked up, haha, these fucking faggot losers. Like, well, you gotta be so smug about it. And it's like, well, these guys are 10 times more smug, and you're not gonna call them out on the carpet. Goes to show you don't have any moral consistency. Comicsgate has zero moral consistency. We just proved it objectively and scientifically right there.
They're fucking
We win the argument again.
You people should be angry about this,
Hmm.
more angry than we would ever be. After all, it's your
And we're
money.
not really. In fact, that's the thing is that's why we're going through this is because this shit is fucking funny. It gives me so much sick pleasure. That's why I decided to make a video about this because I was just going through this the
It's the
whole time.
ultimate. It's the ultimate treehouse lol cow. This
Yes.
is such an untapped lol cow, and it's entirely on us to fucking cover this. No one else has discovered this yet.
Nobody else does videos. It's funny. It's like other people are like, "Oh, this is old news," and it's like, "Yeah, but okay, go ahead, point to the video about this." With your reason, it's like, you ain't got what it takes, faggot. And
Where's your
those are
video?
former Comicsgate supporters usually who do that, but they're former Comicsgate supporters, not current because the movement is dead. But yeah, the thing is that I was just fucking getting just so much sick pleasure, shodden boners from reading these comments last night on Discord. Really, this video is just to go over what I've already experienced and kind of past now, of course. But
Taking the last bit of sick pleasure
yes,
in this.
I'm milking myself for the last bit of sick pleasure from all of this. But look at how fucking people are just done with Richard. This is really what he deserved too.
But I mean, this is still not even over.
Yeah. No, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of people of the honeymoon ending with people and Richard. People are going to start trashing him more and more,
I
and
mean,
he's going to deserve every bit of it.
one thing for sure, he's not going to be gaining new fans. That era has fucking come and
Yeah,
gone.
long ago. He plateaued over a year ago. And so did Ethan.
They have nothing. They have nowhere to go but down.
The thing is, they don't really have any charisma. Like that, even the quartering has a bigger following, and he doesn't have that much charisma either. But he has more than any of the people that Ethan Van Sciver has on his streams combined. They're all fucking like creepy people with very telling and suspicious physiognomy, which is how I finally found out how it's pronounced. Is physiognomy, not physiognomy, but physiognomy,
Physiognomy.
vaginami. Anyways,
That's how it should be pronounced if we're talking about Comicsgate.
this comment mentions about about Richard's YouTube videos and channel. I'm watching fewer of those and really only want updates to projects. Update fucking profile. Make it easy to follow Splato Comics, if not Richard Meyer. Big love dipshit. Fucking
Why this guy though thinks that he's going to get updates for the projects that he's funding instead of just more comics video reviews or multiple reviews about fucking the new Zack Snyder
especially
movie.
this way. Here's the thing: is that like acting like this is, it's ironic from people who complained about how the SJWs are so disrespectful of how they treat us, as they themselves are then disrespectful in exchange, usually up front. But now you see they're disrespectful to each other and themselves when like it's just one little late comic. I mean, anytime you back any crowdfunding campaign, whether it's a comic or not, you have to accept it as a loss. You have to accept it as something you will never receive. If you receive it, good job. With our comics, we fucking we did two campaigns. The first one was successful and people got their comic. The second one didn't get funding because I had the goal really high because it had to be high in order to make sure that the whole comic would be paid off. And we didn't get it. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't really expecting that, but I wanted to see how much we could get. And the thing is that but people, I didn't take people's money when that didn't get its goal. People's money didn't go to me anyways. I was like, like I didn't have to say here is a refund. It just didn't charge anyone. I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's a good system. With this, people are like acting like they're fucking owed. They're acting like they paid for gold and didn't receive their gold. They're fucking getting a comic book. It's shit. You'll probably still get it. You might as well forget about it though, because it's not going to be good anyways. Anyways, the next comic says, the dog tags are nice, thanks. I think this is after an update where he said, everyone will get free dog tags now because the comic is so late. And it's like, so people are showing that they're like, okay, at least we get a bauble, at least we get some decorative kitsch. Um, this guy also says, I can understand getting overloaded and losing focus on the daily grind. I am that way too. No other way to move forward than forward. Focus on each day. So again, cope and white knighting rationalization for a comic cuck, basically.
Yeah, I have zero respect for them.
Yeah. Here's another comment 15 days ago. Again, so we're going older. This guy says, I must agree with the others. To add, I think not shipping out Expendables, Jawbreakers, and Impossible Stars is cannibalizing the sales of $4.99 and Rock and Roll Ninja. That is actually a good point. Is, again, instead of Richard putting out regular comic book content, he's just shoving out a shitload of his loose ideas that he now just pays other people to write. He wants to be an ideas guy instead of an actual creator. And the ideas guy is the weakest type of person. They're not creators. They're guys who just want to cash in on an IP and they don't really give a shit if it's any good or not. But this guy points out, all these comics are basically backed up and not coming out at once. It's the content is not coming out in a regular fashion, like this comic, then this comic, then this comic. It's a bunch of them being promised all at once and several of them being late. And then when you're selling several comics and then you come out with a new comic, you're not going to fucking sell as much because people are like, well, I'll just pick this one comic, I guess. And then, that's fine if you don't give a shit about selling any of your comics. But Richard, his entire fucking viewpoint and the entire point of his stupid incorrect comparison to the founder, was that, comics should be a sort of mass-produced line of generic content that comes out constantly and regularly. So even he is fucking it up because he doesn't really know what he's doing. He doesn't understand. He just pretended like he knew what he was doing, and people are like, "Oh, this guy must really pretend. He's really confident, so he absolutely knows what he's doing." But he doesn't. He had no idea what he was doing. Anyways, this comment continues. A lot more people would be backing them if they had gotten the books they backed much earlier, and we knew they'd be coming out in a timely manner. This is a disservice to everyone, including you, Zack, which is not his name. Every time they call him Zack, it shows a bit of delusion on their fucking viewpoints and in their minds. And this guy ends by saying, "You're my man." No, he's not. But I gotta be honest on this, because I want Splato to succeed. I got bad news for you. Splato, just by its name, is fly-by-night. Splato is the name of a comic book company that does not last more than 5 years. And to be honest, the only reason why it's lasted more than one is because it was selling people false promises. You can sell people false promises and you can keep things going for a good couple of years. But the entire movement, Comicsgate, has completely imploded. It's attacked itself. It's imploded more spectacularly than even I was predicting. And I like that. That gives me sick pleasure. Anyways, there's a few more comments to go through, so we'll continue with that in the next episode. Remember, should have listened to Shitty Webcomics. All right, wrapping up, hopefully the last part, I hope, of the end of the honeymoon with Richard C. Meyer. Just jumping right into this, this comment says, I bet we get Expendables before we get Red Rooster. So look at your movement, Comicsgate. You have so many shitty late comics that either are late or just were canceled, not coming out, whatever the fuck. You don't even know if they're coming out. Red Rooster went to fucking Walmart stores before it went to backers. They don't care about you. They never did. You got suckered. But if you're past 2019 and you're still not admitting it, something's really wrong with you. It's not the people who fooled you, it's you that's the problem. Probably you that was always the problem, too. And this was 23 days ago. They still don't get Expendables. So it's possible this guy can end up wrong. Anyways, but yeah, it's just very telling about Comicsgate that they're now betting about which comic will be late, more late than the other late comic. Here's the next one though. 1 month ago, so it's longer ago. Some guy just says, "What the literal blue fuck? Ship the GD book already. Who gives a hot shit about your next project? This is the last one anyone's going to back." And it has 13 thumbs up. That's worth pointing out for anyone who's not watching the video, because the video is just going to have these comments. But I usually want to point out, especially when it's pertinent, this one has 13 thumbs up, 1 thumb down, which means that a lot of people just agree with this. They're fucking tired of Richard, his excuses, and really his comics and his YouTube channel at this point. It's all about it. But then also at the same time, the 2 previous comments that, you know, are happening probably a day earlier or whatever is hype train woo woo with 4 thumbs up, 3 thumbs down. This is probably just about the time when people were like maximum tired of Richard and were like, you know what? This guy backed out of that lawsuit. He's just a complete cuck. You know, we gave him all this money for the lawsuit, which most likely is either disappeared or they just want to pocket the rest because they knew. Here's the thing about that Mark Waid lawsuit, and we mentioned this in many videos, but it didn't have a fucking chance. And we've gone over why several times. We're doing like a sort of documentary series about Comicsgate, and that explains a lot of why there was no chance for that lawsuit.
Perfect, pristine coverage.
Yes. But anyways, you know, some guy commenting hype train woo woo, 4 thumbs up, 3 thumbs down. So nice ratio, pal. But the next comment says, keeping the hype up, never stop, 4 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down. So again, when it even has 1 thumb down, that means people are getting really fucking tired. Because that means, I think the only way to vote is you are a backer of the campaign or something. But anyways, 2 months ago comment, so does this mean that the books are arriving this month? Correct me if I'm wrong, please. 5 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down. And it's like, why exactly would you thumb that one down, though? Are you mad because the comic's late? Are you mad because somebody's questioning your precious fucking co-Caesar? Your co-leader of your movement that you claim has no leaders. Here's the next comment. Man, I think you should go to print and get on some live streams to tell your people you're going to print. 10 thumbs up.
I wonder why he hasn't done that yet.
Yeah, that's 2 months ago. Here's a bunch of comments. People do have a valid point in that you've roasted other crowdfunded comics for tardiness, but beyond that, I can't understand the hostility I've seen in some of the comments. Whatever the delay, you've earned credibility with me by making good. And so it's, you know, heavy cope.
Just a weak person.
I've no doubt you'll deliver the promised product. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be the question. The question here is he's late without answering. So it doesn't matter if you're fucking, you know, if you have no new answer, if you're like, hey, my artist just hasn't finished the comic, all you could do is be like, artist still hasn't finished the comic. But, and here's the thing is that, I know that like literally 2 is still really going slow, but we're not asking for other people's money. One guy donated money, and all I can do is say that, you know, the artist hasn't been able to do a lot of work lately. And it's a lot of work too, but it's, you know, it's been very, very slow going. And, you know, I'm not sure what to do aside from just looking for another artist, but I haven't taken thousands and thousands of dollars of a bunch of other people's money. It was most of the money came from one guy who just wanted to help support, and the money went directly, immediately to the art team. But with Richard, there is no excuse like that. You can't just say, well, the art team is slow, because then you're negligent. But again, there's always going to be lots of cope. Here's another one saying, it's funny though, that one got 16 thumbs up and 1 thumbs down. That was 2 months ago. Things are clearly changing. Things have changed since that 2 months ago. Another comment says, some pissed off people in the comments, I don't think it's that serious. 5 thumbs up, 3 thumbs down. Enjoy your ratio. Somebody else says,
but yeah, just also just the whole it's a very copious Maximus fucking comment, or it's like you see somebody is making a statement and you have to reply to that statement.
Yeah, like you have no choice at that point but to try to just reply with something because you don't have anything else to do or say. Anyways, the next comment says, incredibly disappointed with your latest update. It did not reassure or evoke confidence like I think you were going for. As you said yourself, you have run 15 campaigns. No more excuses. 10 thumbs up, 4 thumbs down. So you still got a ratio.
People are their fucking feelings hurt.
But the thing is that here's the thing about the ratio is that usually it implies that somebody's correct. Somebody told a painful truth. That's really what in a lot of cases. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just somebody being an idiot. But a lot of times when you get ratioed like that, sometimes it just means you told a painful truth that nobody else wants to admit to. And it really depends on the situation, of course. Everything depends on the situation and the context. That's what we've always been champions of, more than anyone in Comicsgate. Comicsgate fears context, and we proved that objectively and quantifiably, in fact. But it's funny that this guy got 4 downvotes, but since then, 2 months ago, since then, clearly the opinion has turned, and now people are just tired of fucking Richard. Here's another one saying, I would be willing to bet that Sylvester Stallone would be less angry about finding a typo in a book with his name on it than finding out you've got nearly $280,000 of other people's money and aren't delivering the goods. First of all, I doubt Sylvester Stallone gives a shit either way, but this is at least a point. It is an argument. It's a point of something. And this guy says, and I believe we were all pretty patient and understanding until we were promised it would be delivered by Christmas. If you've completed so many successful campaigns, you should have some idea of the obstacles inherent in timely delivery, pandemic or not. Because here's the thing, the pandemic, as we pointed out, is no excuse at this point. Other people have been shipping out their comics on time.
Yeah, the pandemic has no effect on this shit. If anything, people are staying home to read comics.
There was some slight delay for a bit, but it didn't really slow much of this down for a lot of people making crowdfunded comics. And here's the thing, whether that was a factor or not anyways, clearly after 6 months, the pandemic is not the reason. But this guy got 9 thumbs up and 3 thumbs down, so even people had to cope about this guy. Here's the thing. People get really whiny about criticizing Richard. People are like, don't criticize Richard, even if he does anything wrong or not. People are like, don't talk shit about my boy Richard. And it's like, you are a cuck by nature then.
Stop punching right. And it's like, okay, this is somebody who's ripping you off. He's ripping you off.
Yeah, basically, don't criticize somebody who we want to be on our side, no matter if they do something wrong, or especially when they're doing something wrong. And that comes from fear of inferiority, of being a faggot, because they are faggots in Comicsgate. Here's another comment from somebody who who commented on another part. But again, 2 months ago. We're getting older and older in these, but we're also almost done at least. Somebody else saying, not sure how I feel about your recent update. So there was an update like 2 months ago that was very suspicious and telling, and I think I did screen cap that, so that should be showing up soon. But here, basically, this lady says, you are saying it's all ready to go to print, that you've read it multiple times and you're really happy with it, so I don't see why you wouldn't put your backers out of their misery and get the book printed. Even if you send it to print tomorrow and it turns out perfectly, it's going to be a week to 10 days for you to get the copies into your hands. And as you are doing your own fulfillment, it could be over a month before we see our books get it done. Again, 2 months ago. Clearly, it hasn't even started yet. Because Richard hasn't done an update saying, okay, I got it all printed. It's fucking ready to start shipping. It shouldn't even take that long. I don't think it actually takes that long from printing to shipping. I think it can take at most like 2 weeks from printing to shipping. I don't actually know, but again, the people who do know have told me their stories, and they're like, yeah, it doesn't really take an entire month from getting the books printed to getting the books shipped. Especially if you have the printed books directly sent to the people who do the fulfillment.
It takes even less time is not printing a book that you apparently cannot afford to print and don't have the time to print.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, is that he doesn't have the money anymore. It's really weird and it's confusing because what other reasons are there? He's not saying. So it sounds like he ran out of money for either printing or shipping, if he can't even print it. But yeah, 2 months ago is another commenter quoting Richard saying, I'm literally just at the final stage of being kind of nervous to pull the trigger on this and send it to the printer. Somebody says, just do it, pussy. 12 thumbs up, 0 thumbs downs. And that's probably seen as like, oh, it's good-hearted roasting, but it's most likely people are just fucking annoyed. But again, 2 months ago, he must have done some update where people were like, wow, something's wrong with him. And again, I think this was just after he backed out of the lawsuit and basically it had to accept that he took it as a loss. A lot of people started just trashing him and said, you know what, I'm done with Richard. I'm fucking tired of him. He's fucking, whatever they are willing to admit about him. But right after that comment was somebody else saying less OCD panic and nitpicking and more sending it to get printed. The next comment before that says, next time it may be worth it to pay the money for a print proof if you're this nervous about the book coming out okay. Most likely, that's not the problem. Because I'm sure these people, when they send it to the printers, if they're even remotely, if they have even 2 IQ points to rub together, they're getting a proof first. I'm pretty sure that's the standard. Is you get a proof first so you know what it looks like, then you're like, okay, this is perfect. I'm signing off on all of this. I had somebody else go through to verify that everything looks good. This is the proof. And again, it's fucking...
It's not even like professionalism. That's like the bargain basement standard.
Yeah, bog standard fucking just nothing. But anyways, here's a screen cap of the... I guess of a concept or like a proof of concept of the, or just the concept of the dog tags, which just says Expendables, Stallone, Sly, Dixon, Chuck, Meyer, Richard, Nolan, Graham. And it's just like, that's just the dog tag people are going to, this is the free dog tag you're going to get with your copy. And it's like, really? This is it? Apparently people were willing to say thanks for just this. With their comic, it's just like the most bog standard printed sheet metal stamped fucking, probably not even fucking sheet metal. But here's the update 2 months ago, which I saw other people referencing the specific update, but January 23rd, so it's the end of January of this year. He says, are the Expendables in hell or limbo? Hi, everyone. I've seen several comments and emails from backers who are justifiably bothered about their books being late. Printing has been paid for. All the pages are complete in art and lettering. All of the cover art as well as the trade, blah, blah, blah. Credit page is complete. And then here's what Richard says. I'm literally just at the final stage of being kind of nervous to pull the trigger on this and send it to the printer because I've read the entire book more than a dozen times and it is simply incredible. I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's the same old bog standard generic.
So incredible that he's nervous to send it out because he apparently doesn't trust the value of it.
Mm-hmm. I've been excited for like, oh, this book is fucking... It's finished. It's out there. This is going to be the final version. I want to make sure. And so I go over it for another couple of days. Then it's gone. Then it goes out. Then it's printed. And if there is anything wrong with it, it's like, well, that's fucking something I notice a month later. It's like, well, that's fucking. It's not something that destroys the comic. Because clearly, if it would destroy the comic, I would have noticed it on like at the first few read throughs. So, but here's the thing: he made this 2 months ago and still hasn't done it. So clearly, this is not true. But he says, nervous to pull the trigger on this and send it to the printer because I've read the entire book. This book's going to be amazing. I've run 15 campaigns, 11 delivered, 2 not due yet, and 2 are late. You'll get this book, and I know you're going to love it. Which, here's the thing, at this point, people might be so soured on just the treatment, the behavior, and also, I think the biggest factor, which shouldn't be, but probably is the whole lawsuit, backing out of the lawsuit. And I think that might be why he was actually nervous, is people were trashing him. They're like, your book's late and you backed out of this fucking lawsuit. What the fuck am I supporting you for? I'm done with you. I'm tired with you. That kind of shit. He's probably gotten a lot of fucking just being torn to shreds over his behavior. It's like he has no one to blame but himself. Also, this reminded a few of us, including fucking Nopeful, but also you, of that old excuse when Ethan was saying that Cyberfrog had gone to the printers and then months passed and it still not only wasn't out yet, but he didn't have any copies to show anyone. So it's the old Ethan Van Sciver of saying it went to the printers when it's not at the printers and actually not finished yet. Ethan was still drawing it and telling people it was at the printers. That was 2018 and 2019. Ethan was just flat out lying to customers and backers. And they didn't care. They wanted to be lied to. They didn't give a shit. They probably liked being lied to because it at least meant some kind of interaction or communication. So yeah, that was the old it's at the printers lie from Comicsgate. That's Richard C. Meyer taking a lesson from his good friend Ethan Van Sciver. So that does wrap it up. Actually, we did actually we made it before 20 minutes. Now we can finally go get something to eat.
Now we can be real people again.
We can finally go back to being real people.
Excise the cancer.
Anyways, yeah. So again, when I was going over this on the Discord server, it was just like funny and worth seeing. Just because after all this time, people are finally just getting tired of the bullshit of Comicsgate that had been continuous. None of this is new. None of this behavior, the comics being late. It's a bit new for Richard, but the thing is that the comics have been late for months. So that wasn't new for Richard either. But it was like Richard was late with these books and still telling people, hey, I got a new comic coming out. Hey, I got another new comic coming out. He put out like 3 comics while these ones were still late. And while they were late, instead of being like, okay, I'm going to hold off on this one until it's in people's hands, he was like, no, here's another comic. And here's another comic. And it's like, okay, I'm still waiting for this one.
He's clearly capable of shitting out a whole bunch of mediocre ideas in rapid succession.
Of bland, lifeless product. But he clearly doesn't care that much about fulfilling what the customers want. He just wants to get all his books out. Because I think even he sees the end of this is coming soon.
Look how stupid his customers are. He could just keep fucking jacking them.
But I think even, yeah, like he knows he can keep milking them if he does it really fast, as soon as possible. He's like, hold on, let me milk these guys really quick right now. Get it over with and get their money in my pockets because it's disappearing. He's seeing that he's getting less and less money, less and less backers on every comic he does. The thing is, he could maintain the plateau, but it's shrinking more and more from doing this, but also just in general because of the incompetence of himself and his beliefs. The beliefs of Comicsgate were always incompetent. So anyways, these videos, you know, they're funded by people like on our, I can't say people like you because I can never say who may be watching this because they're just unlisted. We have no qualms about people like linking our unlisted videos around to anyone. That's fine. but these are supported by our cool, fun, hip pals at Subscribestar. And if you want to support us, just $1 on a Subscribestar. But actually, you can sign up for free on Subscribestar to sort of get the Subscribestar mailing list that will help keep you informed about if we update at all, or if, sometimes if we have some news, we can do it through the Subscribestar. So it actually works as a nice mailing list. I like that. Anyways, but yeah, $5, you'll get access to all of our secret videos that Comicsgate is too paused and dishonest and censorious to be allowed to
I almost
see
feel
in
like
public.
these people are just so lucky that we are around.
Yeah, they're in a way, that's what the $5 is, them showing their appreciation that we're around. So make sure to I don't even care about the liking and sharing and subscribing. That's because they're unlisted, so it doesn't do anything to the algorithm. If we do anything that is listed, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe. But the most important thing actually is back us on Subscribestar. It's linked below. Subscribestar.adult/shitty webcomics. And remember, should have listened to shitty webcomics.